Hi, everybody. Ed Smith with the Fantasy Clown Show. Thanks for joining me for our first edition of Team Breakdown. I wanted to start with a team that the league began back in 1998 on the Yahoo platform, so many moons ago. And it's a team that I actually won 2018, 2019 back to back years before I began this whole process. And not sure if each of you have a league like this, but it's definitely what I call the old man league, where we have people that do very few trades and the settings are very antiquated, but changing settings once you're involved in a long time dynasty is really difficult because of how roster construction is. So when I began this process of tracking each and every thing inside of the league itself and all my trades and that sort of thing at the beginning of the 2020 season, I realized that making moves here was very challenging, and maybe there was a little bit more luck to my back-to-back wins than what I had previously thought. So what we'll do is we'll kind of go through some of the overlying principles with the league and then how I made my blueprint to match that. So one of the things that is it's the only league that I play in, I guess you could say, that is non PPR. So it's standard format scoring with 3 point throwing touchdowns. So rushing touchdowns by a quarterback have a lot of value, and 10 points per. I'm sorry, 1 point for every 10 yards receiving rushing, and 6 points for touchdowns receiving and rushing. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we have. It's a one quarterback league. It still has the kicker, still has the full defensive uh, scoring, and two running backs, two receivers, one tight end with no premiums. So when we start to look at only two receivers, no PPR, it become players like Julio Jones that didn't score touchdowns and have high target share become less valuable. And in a 12-team format, two receivers, it really devalues the receiver as well. I always find that I really look at a league like this and I want to control two things. I want to make sure that I have a top five quarterback, and then I want to make sure that I have the as many running backs as I can have. So um, the reason this team was successful, in my opinion, was that back in 2018, 2019, I had Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. So two positions where I had one of the best players in each of those positions, and that propelled me to a win with this scoring format. As things have gone on, I've realized that um, applying first round rookie picks is a way to sustain the team. And I haven't had a first round rookie pick until this year, 2022, since 2017. So that was my last time of picking a rookie pick. So to get back with no picks has been really a struggle, and it shows in my team. So we're just going to kind of go through um, some of what we have. One other rule that I tried to maneuver around and got caught and so can't do is we always need to maintain a kicker and always need to have a defense. I normally through the offseason would drop those two positions, figuring that I would pick up what is left over at the beginning of the season and use those two roster spots for other players to have in waiting. But in this league, I do have Koo from Atlanta as the kicker, and the Saints defense only as placeholders really until the beginning of the regular season when waivers do begin, and I have a better feel for what those two positions bring. Um, Once we start looking at tight end, and since it's a single tight end, single quarterback, I try to keep very few of those in my bench as well because I just try to have one good one. And then after that, I don't want to use bench spots for those positions. And in this league, I really strive to really load up on running backs, as that seems to be what I'm short on whenever the team doesn't do so well. So we're going to look at beyond my quarterback, and which is Lamar Jackson, and tight end, which is George Kittle. I then will break down the receivers. Now, remember, we only start two, and PPR isn't a thing. So I currently have Terry McLaurin and Odell Beckham as my starters, but I also have Jacoby Myers, Laviska Shenault, Gabe Davis, and Darnell Mooney with um, Elijah Moore on my taxi. So that's a fair amount for two spots. And, basically some of those guys are placeholders until we see where their landing spot is, who their coach is, and that sort of thing. And then I really loaded up on my running backs. I have Christian McCaffrey, as I mentioned before. And then Michael Carter, I just picked up in a trade for the 109. So I traded the 109 in 2022 for Michael Carter straight up. I noticed last year that Michael Carter was picked with the 105, and I felt like my opinion of Michael Carter today is actually higher than it would have been on draft day last year. So I felt like, even though I knew he was going to be in the Jets system, I feel like I've seen enough from him to, buy him at a discount over what his price was last year. And so was able to purchase him there and have inserted him really in the starting lineup for now, because as you'll see, I have some other question marks at running back, and that's J.K. Dobbins and James Robinson. Just want to see how they return from injury. And then I have some running backs also in my few taxi spots. We do have four in this league, so I have Jarrett Patterson and Jake Funk, and they're basically placeholders until we see what I can pick in next year's draft as well. So, and then I follow that up with Justin Jackson, who was just there to start when I had injuries. Dion Jackson, I want to just kind of address why I have Dion Jackson, and you'll see this is a reoccurring theme. I really believe that he was a rookie this year, and he is the handcuff, if there is a handcuff, to Jonathan Taylor. And at this point, Jonathan Taylor feels like the 101 or at least the RB1 in fantasy football. And at this point, if something were to happen to him, like Akers or like Dobbins, I believe that Dion Jackson would be the guy. And I figured he was free over this winter, and so I'll hold him until it doesn't make sense to hold him. So I mean, he would be a guy that I would cut if everything else, if I need roster spots. But he and Laviska Shenault and Jacoby Myers are people on the chopping block, and Justin Jackson. That's four spots. So it really doesn't matter what happens with the four rookie picks I have. Now I do pick at the 104 and 304, 307, 404. And as you can see, I placed ninth out of 12 teams this year. So not happy with that result, but do feel like this team is ready to compete in the next several years. Now, with my philosophy of trying to go at least 3x on my money, we're 2 years in, no money received. So now I have 8 years to recover the money. So, it feels like a little bit more of a pressing situation. Now, this particular league pays out a lot of spots, so a lot less to the first place team, but does play second, third, fourth position and fifth position. So there's a lot of money getting handed around. And so once you make the playoffs, you're cash and money. So, my goal is to get this team back to the playoffs, and I believe I have a team that will do that. When I start to look at some of the other tools that I use to just kind of give me an idea of what I have as far as a team, I was looking at where the team ranked by Fantasy Pros, and it has a team in the 5 position overall for Dynasty before we make those rookie picks. And I do usually notice that they're a little bit light on the quarterback position just based on the scoring here. And they did have the team that was ranked third was our winner last year. So I guess I try to put that all in perspective, because I realize that, not any of us are going to get it right. It's just a means to a tool. But what I also use Fantasy Pros for in this league's respect is I want to make sure that I kind of keep track of how many roster moves I make per year. And in this league, I did make the most last year, so I was trying to churn the roster back and forth. And I made a total of 82 roster moves during the 2021 season. So I didn't leave too many stones unturned. It seems like the best trade that was made in there, I believe there was only 5 trades made in the whole league last year. So I was fortunate enough to make one trade during the 2021 season. And the trade I alluded to during the off season here was the Michael Carter trade. And I guess the specifics on that trade really was my first round pick, which was the 109, to the other owner for Michael Carter. And actually I got his 2022 third round pick back. And in this league, we only have 4 positions in for the taxi squad, and so most of the owners don't want more than 4 picks. So I was able to kind of bring the third back, and that made the deal just a little bit sweeter because I'll find somebody there that may make sense for me in the third round of that pick. The other trade I made mid-season was one that was the best trade for the other owner across the league. However, as I look back, I'm pretty happy with the trade. I traded away Kareem Hunt and my 2022 second, which became the 204, and I received back J.K. Dobbins and his 2022 first, which was that 109 that I shipped for Michael Carter and a third. So if we really look at that trade, I gave away Hunt and my second, and I received back Michael Carter, J.K. Dobbins, and a third. So that was the extent of the trades that happened for this team this year. Please comment in the chat your thoughts. Tell me that I'm full of crap. Tell me this team will never win. I've heard it all, so ready for all that. But I'm excited for this team to be one of the ones that competes this year, and I am counting on a clean year from Lamar Jackson. But once we have that, and he's near the top of the rushing quarterback, especially in the touchdown department, I should do pretty well in this league. So pretty excited about where it goes from here, and maybe can run some back-to-back wins back. So thanks for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and stay tuned for tomorrow's account of another team.